Hello, my name is Chris and I'm one of the cancer support workers at Yeovil Hospital, and I'm here today to talk about fatigue and moving more. But before we start, there is some important information I would just like to go over. If you have a stoma, you are more prone to getting a hernia. So it's important to try to avoid exercises that increase the pressure in your abdominal area in your stomach. If you are worried about hernias, there are hernia belts available. So you can speak to your clinical team or speak to your GP. And also, if you've just had surgery, you are okay to do gentle exercises straight away. So these are things such as walking. However, if you want to do moderate exercises, such as riding a bike, hiking, or using a lawnmower, we recommend that you wait 6 weeks unless you've been told differently. So now, the first thing I'd like to discuss is something that cannot be seen, but is very much felt. This is fatigue. Fatigue is like putting on a harness, putting on a weighted belt when you get out of bed in the morning. You could have slept for 8 hours like a baby and still wake up just feeling absolutely exhausted. So, what is fatigue? Fatigue is a physical and mental exhaustion that can be triggered by your cancer, can be triggered by treatment, as well as old age. Fatigue cannot be seen, so it can be very hard for people to sympathise and understand, much like many hidden disabilities. Fatigue can come and go day to day. Some days can be worse than others, and there might not even be an obvious pattern for when fatigue will hit. Cancer-related fatigue is different to regular fatigue due to the mental and physical exhaustion, and this can be due to the worry and the stress of potentially going for treatment, just having it, or if you're just concerned a bit about your future. So in the middle of the Venn diagram is where you'll be. It's the physical, the mental, and just exhaustion, and just a lack of motivation. But you're not alone in this. 90% of people with cancer will get some degree of cancer-related fatigue. So, some of these feelings may be familiar to you, while you may have others that aren't mentioned here. This can include things such as feeling uncharacteristically irritable or having a shorter fuse. You may find simple tasks that you're able to complete easily before really difficult to do now. And it can also be difficult to engage in conversation and just talking to people. But it's really important to be able to talk how you're feeling through with those around you. It may seem obvious to you that you're fatigued and you're exhausted and tired, but to other people who may not be able to see this or might not understand it, they could get mixed or confusing messages. When you are fatigued, it is important to plan your day to accomplish as much as possible and make as much of the energy as you can. We like to think of our energy as a battery. So when you are at 100%, your battery's in the green. So with fatigue, you might need to plan a little bit more with your day of what you want to accomplish. What is essential to you? What do you want to achieve? And when will you have the most energy to be able to achieve these? It's important to pace yourself and rest. When you are feeling that you are in the yellow of the battery, about that 50%, that's the time to just take a break and stop what you're doing. And this could just be have a simple sit down. You might want to lie just with your eyes shut, not necessarily sleeping, but just rest and listen to your body. It could be really tempting to pack your day full with lots of activities when you are in that 100% green and you're feeling great. You haven't felt so energized in a week or even a few days. However, if you are packing your day full of those activities and you're wanting to complete things you may not have previously been able to do, you might be able to overwork yourself. And once you're in that 50%, the yellow zone, and you're feeling tired, you want to do just a little bit more. But this can lead to an increase in the feelings of fatigue, as well as make you require a longer recovery period. So it's really important to stop before you hit the red zone, listen to your body, and just rest. So what are some good tips to help fight fatigue? First of all, we do recommend talking to your medical team. Talk about your fatigue and let them know how it feels for you, but most importantly, without playing it down. Just speak honestly so they can get a good understanding of what you're currently feeling. Trouble sleeping is not unusual, and that's why you need to find out what helps for you. It's important, or some people find it important, to have a routine such as waking up at the same time in the morning and going to bed just to get their body regular to that. And what we're aiming for is the quality of sleep, not the quantity. You might find it useful just to take a few breaks in the day, even if it's just 20 minutes, just to lie down, shut your eyes and have a rest. Eating a balanced diet is also able to provide you energy. This will not cure fatigue, however, but will be able to help improve your energy levels and some of the side effects of your treatment. Fatigue can also affect your emotions, and this can play quite a large part on your personal and intimate relationships with those around you. Emotional support can help with the feeling of fatigue, and it could help lift quite a metaphorical weight off your shoulders and just make it that bit easier to get through with your day. Some people find it really helpful to keep a fatigue diary. When I was mentioning earlier, there may not be a pattern. It might not be something you've noticed yet. So when you are feeling fatigued, there are some great resources. Macmillan have a fantastic online resource called Macmillan Restore, which is an online fatigue diary, which you're able to just to note down what time of the day, your energy levels, as well as some really good information. Or you might find it just as helpful, keep a little black book with you and just note these down, and you might be able to take this with you to your future appointments. Now, I want to talk to you about one proven way to reduce the effects of fatigue. And this is sit less, move more. Now, it may seem counterintuitive to stop resting and get you walking about and moving when you are feeling fatigued and your motivation is at an all-time low just to move. However, fatigue and feeling low in mood are two of the most reported side effects of cancer from cancer patients, and there is a strong link between your increase in activity and your reduction in fatigue and an improvement in your emotions, helping you just to ultimately feel better. Just 10 minutes a day has proven to improve your physical and your mental well-being, as well as your emotional support. So to reduce fatigue, this can be, we'll discuss those later, a few little ways, but just by exercising, moving around, walking, your body will release endorphins, which are our natural feel-good hormones. So I'm sure you've all heard before of the benefits of doing exercise. But if I were able to offer you a miracle drug which could lower your risk of cancer, lower your risk of type 2 diabetes, asthma, blood pressure, improve your weight, as well as give your physical and mental well-being a boost, as well as giving you a few extra years of life, there will be a long queue of people outside the door and I'll be a rich man. However, as soon as I tell you, all you'll need to do is to move for less than 30 minutes a day. We're looking about 2.5 hours of moderate exercise over the space of a week. People turn a blind eye and they try to find reasons and excuses why they can't do this. However, it really is that achievable. So, when moving more, it's important that you find something you enjoy. If you don't enjoy it, you won't do it. And on those days you are feeling very fatigued, it'll be really simple just to ignore it. So what interests you? What would you like to do? One thing I always find useful for myself, and I know people who I speak to also, is do it with a friend. That can be a great boost in motivation to know you've got someone there with you to do it. I personally find it helpful as I don't want to let another person down, so on the days I'm feeling exhausted, it still gives me that boost to go out and improve. And afterwards, even though it can be difficult doing exercising during, you always feel fantastic afterwards when you're full of the endorphins. It doesn't even have to be structured exercise. When we're talking about moderate activity, this could be doing your regular household tasks, such as mowing the lawn or doing the shopping, but increasing the intensity you do this. Just walk a little bit faster, maybe even just walk a block further and just do it a little bit quicker. You might want to see how fast you can vacuum your house when you're doing this. So how much exercise is recommended to do per week? We did discuss this, so it's 2.5 hours over the space of the week. And if you are struggling to do that initially, we do recommend just building this up gradually. You might want to walk to the end of the road, just to the shop and back. And now 2.5 hours does seem a lot, but when you spread it through over 7 days, it is very manageable. As long as you're doing it in minimums of 10 minutes of exercise, it's easy to see how you can spread this through, even when you've just finished watching a program, or if you are, say, the adverts come on, you want to do a little bit of exercise. Instead of getting up to the sofa to make your tea, sit back down, stand up, do that a couple of times. You're just increasing the activity you're able to get through the week. Someone once told me when they did the ironing, what they would do is they would iron the shirt, and instead of putting it on a rack next to them, they would walk that shirt individually upstairs to the closet and put it away and come back down. So over this period of just ironing 10 to 15 shirts, the level of activity is far greater. So now, what is moderate intensity activity? Moderate intensity activity, what is this? So it's not too easy, not too hard. If you're out and wanting to do moderate activities with people, you should feel out of breath. Your breathing will increase. However, you should still be able to talk with the person next to you. You should be able to talk, but not sing. Moderate is doing a little bit more than you would normally do if you're going out for a casual walk, but it's not feeling unmanageable when you do this. For example, when you're walking the dog, just walk at a brisker pace. If you're walking uphill, you might want to set segments where you try and just increase. So between the first tree and the third, walk a bit faster. Between here and the lamppost, just see how quick you can make that. If something doesn't feel achievable to you, it won't be maintainable for you to do this long term. Set yourself some small goals and just work your way up. I'm not expecting you to go from the sofa to a marathon in 2 weeks. Just start slow and just build up so you feel very manageable in doing this, and it gives you something to aim and work towards. So I just want to go over a few little activities here. Our body naturally burns calories when we move. It's our fuel and it helps us get throughout the day. This also does burn calories when we're sat down, but at a much slower rate. So I'm not highlighting the calories in these activities to suggest you should be calorie counting, but just so you get a better idea of how much calories you burn when you're doing normal exercises. So you shouldn't be ashamed or compare your tasks that you're completing today as what you were doing a year ago. We're not comparing ourselves, we're just trying to improve our current self. So now on the screen are going to be some activities. And what we're looking at is just how many activities burn, or how much calories are burned during activities. And I'm not highlighting the calories to think you should be calorie counting. It's just so you're aware of how much calories our bodies burn, as it's the fuel that helps us get throughout our day. Now, it's important when we're doing this is we're not comparing ourselves to how we were a year ago. It's not a competition to see, oh, I've really struggled with that now, I should be able to do better. But we're just seeing how we can improve ourselves for the future. So first off, even when you're sitting down doing nothing, your body will burn calories at a slower rate. So if you're reading, how many calories do you think that would be? 42. Now, if you are sitting at home watching TV, how many calories do you think that would be? Higher or lower than reading? It's 28. And on average, a person walks about 3.5 miles an hour. So during an average walk, do we think we'll burn more or less calories than when we're sitting watching TV? It's more calories at 149, and that's just in half an hour of walking. Now, if we're doing food shopping, pushing a cart around Tesco's, will we be burning more or less calories than walking? It's less with 130. With the stops of shopping, your body isn't working as continuously, but it is still quite a considerable amount over the period. And when you're at home cooking for half an hour, you're doing a lovely spaghetti bolognese, how many calories do you think that would be? More or less than shopping? It's less with 93. Something that really tires me out is playing with children. When my nephew and niece comes over, I'm exhausted. So over half an hour of playing with children, how many calories do you think that's burned? More or less than cooking? It's more with 149. And when we're gardening, weeding, so we're just bending over, it's quite strenuous on the body. How many calories do you think that's burning? More or less than playing with children? It's more with 172. And coming on to swimming, just a relaxed normal stroke, half an hour at your leisurely pace in the pool. Is that more or less calories than if you would be gardening and weeding? It's more calories with 223. Swimming is a great way to give a full body workout as well as reduce the stress on your body as the water helps to take the pressure. So it's really accessible for everybody and it does burn a lot of calories. And if it's a lovely day and you want to play 18 rounds of golf, how many calories do you think you'll burn in half an hour? It's 205, which is quite a considerable amount, but there's a lot of walking taking place as long as you're not taking the buggies between holes. And finally, if you're going for a leisurely cycle just along the road, just in a nice country path, how many calories do you think you'd burn in half an hour? It's 260. Now this isn't the Tour de France, which I'm sure they'll be working at a far harder rate, but it's just showing how accessible it is for us to burn calories and just get our bodies moving and what this is able to do for us. So the last thing I would just like you to remember is rest is not best. So sit less, move more, and keep on moving. If you do struggle and you want to know a little bit more about any of the information I've discussed, or if you want to see what else is available, I recommend just speak to your clinical team or one of the cancer support workers and we'll be able to point you in the right direction. Thank you very much.